All right. Good afternoon. So we continue with the text of the unit on romanticism. As you all are aware, that we do two essays by critics and theorists on a particular movement, and then we follow it up with a piece of text. So this is Biographia Literaria by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. The chapter 13 of the named book begins with a quotation from Book 5 of Paradise Lost, written by John Milton in 1667. In those lines, Adam, the first man ever, is addressed and explained the power and sublimity of the supreme divine, that is God. It is from God that we emerge, and to Him we return, depending upon whether our actions on earth have been good enough for us to reach Him. We, that is the living creature created by the Supreme Being, is provided with various qualities in order to approximate the greatness of the Creator. It is a gradual growth, like from roots to shoot to leaves to flowers to fruit. This nourishment into a complete being is provided through sense and perception and understanding. Coleridge's point of introducing imagination through these lines of Milton is to emphasize upon the fact that God's creation of living beings is inadequate without the power of imagination. Man's rationality is enhanced through the quality of imagination, which brings him closer to the sublimity of his Creator. He calls imagination essemplastic, which unifies or molds all the faculties of reason, fancy, intellect, and creates a power superior to all. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who lived between 1772 to 1834, was an English poet, philosopher, literary critic, who, with his friend William Wordsworth, founded the Romantic movement in England. He wrote well known poems like The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, Kubla Khan, Christabel, as well as the major prose work Biographia Literaria, which was an autobiography discussing his opinions and theories on how creative writing comes about. To go back to chapter 13 of Biographia Literaria, Coleridge brings in French born Descartes and even more remote Archimedes to emphasize upon various preceding theories to raise understanding of the way things work in this world of ours. How to understand existence or how to make the universe intelligible was what both Archimedes, who lived between 287 to 212 BC, and Descartes, who lived between 1596 to 1650 AD, AD, that is the CE, that is the present contemporary era, have worked on by deriving meaning out of matter and motion. The transcendental philosopher similarly derives meaning out of the matter as soul and everything related to it. Science emphasizes on intelligence as complete and whole, whereas philosophy studies it in its growth. Immanuel Kant, a German philosopher who 1724 to 1804, who is called the sage of Königsberg, in his essay in 1763, has introduced a new thought disagreeing with prior theory of George Berkeley, 1685 to 1753, and Wolff, which seemed to imply that all explanation of existence is through science. Ontology is the branch of metaphysics which deals with the nature of being or existence. The branch of philosophy was deduced by Kant as one that could benefit from mathematics and its precision. Kant was a philosopher, mathematician, scientist, all rolled into one. Enumerates. The branch of philosophy was deduced by Kant as one that could benefit from mathematics and its precision to settle the chaotic and warring questions of philosophy. Coleridge enumerates philosophers and thinkers in his work in order to suggest that there was an ongoing clamor to find answers to questions about the universe, its construct, its beings, and the way it worked. Previous attempts to use mathematical models to bring about comprehension, understanding of the universe has been unsuccessful, as unsuccessful as the attempt of King Saul to disguise David in his own tunic, armor, and bronze helmet to face the warring Philistine Goliath. The humor in Coleridge is self explanatory. Force, space, motion are terms used in this chapter to talk about two prevalent features which make creativity possible. He mentions bodies being set in motion by opposing forces, weighing each against the other by using Latin phrases by nihil negativum, empty object without concept, which means that opposing forces which do not add meaning is nonsense. A liquid cogitable is a body in motion, is something which is preferred because it says both forces are useful and have meaning, powers of repulsion and attraction. Coleridge states the efficacy of that skill or talent which is made by its quality and not by quantity. Till here, Coleridge has not mentioned the word imagination, which is actually what he is pitting against the other force. Equally powerful, but not as great as the power of the SM plastic. The argument has been, as said before, using revered names of Descartes, Kant, Berkeley, Wolff, to use against the transcendental philosophy of the soul as against that of matter. Then he goes on to talk about the letter of a dear and highly respected friend and his response to Coleridge's chapter on imagination. The friend expresses incredulity about this new approach and feels that the public might not be ready for such a novel way of defining imagination. He describes his reaction akin to standing on his own head. That is the extent to which he is overwhelmed and impressed by Coleridge's work. Compares his state to be similar to one removed from the comfort zone of chapels to mysterious, eerie, Gothic cathedrals. Yet he advises Coleridge to keep the chapter away from for future publication. Now, when we talk about future publication, I cannot help but remind you of Horace's reference in his Ars Poetica when he talks to the Pisos. He advises them that if they are in the grip of a great idea, it is better that they keep it on hold for 9 years, because once you publish it, it is in the public eye, and then you cannot do anything to withdraw it. So this is similar to the kind of advice that was given by Horace to the Pisos. So he reminds the yet he advises him to keep the chapter away for future publication in the apprehension that his readers might not be in a state to receive the theory along with his poems. Coleridge's theory about imagination takes him to the world of grotesque, dwarfs, and everything unfamiliar and supernatural. The enchanted mind touched by Orphism is how Wordsworth described it elsewhere, and he reminds Coleridge of the same. The phrase rub my eyes introduces the element of the unreal that the theory of imagination seems to profess. As a result of his friend's opinion, Coleridge sums up the chapter by saying that he considers imagination to be both primary and secondary as a means of creativity, as what spurs poetry to well out from within a true poet. Imagination is what dissolves, diffuses, dissipates in order to re emerge as something new. In his view, imagination is superior in the fact of its own obliteration to create anew, to rise like a phoenix, creating a world of fantasy, unfamiliar, unheard of, yet supremely beautiful. Fancy, on the other hand, is restricted to the familiar and to the comfortable. Memories through time and space create tangible, very real, and experienced, but not fantastical like imagination. Fancy is limited in scope and is unadventurous, whereas imagination is delightful in its wilderness. Thank you. I hope it made sense. Please get back to me if you have any doubts. Thanks a lot.